Ladies and gentlemen, this is Joe's Classic Video Games back with another cool pinball repair video for you this evening. Now, if you've been watching, we are working on a Bally Circus electromechanical pinball machine. A customer brought this by, said that his family has had it for a long time and he wants to get it working again. So that's what we're in the middle of doing. Now, if you didn't see the previous video, go back and check it out. On the last video, we worked in the bottom of this sucker, and it's cleaned it all up and everything, and it had all of the paper missing that tells you which relay's which. We even went back through and figured it out, labeled them all, got it all cleaned up, everything we think adjusted right, rebuilt the two stepper units down there, cleaned all of the switches on the score motor down there, checked the fuses, got them all right. They were still right, but we made sure that everything was good on that. And we have worked through all of this stuff. But that's only the half of it. There's also a bunch of stuff behind the back glass in the back box. We also have this playfield here that we need to mess with. And there's a little bit of repainting that we're going to have to do on the playfield. We'll get to that. Maybe not all of that in this video, but we're going to get started on it and see what we can do. So the first thing I'm going to do is pull this back out from the wall, and then we can check what's in the back box, get a good look at what's next, and start working on it. And hopefully we will end up with a working pinball machine again. So let me slide it out from the wall. Here is the back box. It looks crazy, but it's not that bad. So we've got 16 score reels that we have to mess with. We have the credit wheel here. We have 5 relays down here. There's another 4 up there. I think that's a 0 to 9 unit, maybe. Something like that. 0 to 90 unit, I think they call it. And maybe that's the player unit. So we just have to make sure all this stuff, all of the all of the switches are clean. And if we get them all clean and properly adjusted, the game will work. Even though it's really old, it'll still work. We also have these Jones plugs that we have to clean up. I'm like, look at that. Well, you know that's not conducting electricity, right? There's your problem right there, people. So let's get started. So what's the first thing we're going to do? I don't see any major damage or anything. There's nothing that looks like it's been screwed up other than the rats that have been in here eating the paper. One of the things that if you're looking for an old game to buy, now this isn't a definite, but if you are looking for an old game to buy, one of the things to look for is if it still has the back door on it, which this one did, it keeps things a little easier to work on just because all of the wires don't fade because they're not exposed to the light. So the cloth covered wires on an older game, sometimes we'll get dust all over them and everything will get messed up, where it's really hard to tell what color everything is. On these, you can see that they are still very bright, and it'll be easy to track down if we have a problem. So that's one thing to look at if you're looking for an old game and you're thinking of buying one. I'm not saying don't buy the ones that the wires are faded, but if you see one like this, you know you're in for an easier ride. Okay, so the very first thing we're going to do, I just go through them systematically. I clean these relays first, and then I clean these relays up here and get them out of the way, and then that's one less thing. So how do you clean them? Well, let me brighten it up. We use a little needle file where we run a little file through the contacts and clean them with a little file. Now, we use a really not a very strong file. You don't want to go crazy on it. I've had people say, well, why can't you just spray contact cleaner all over them? Well, a lot of these relays, well, all of these relays have AC voltage going through them. So some of them get pitted and just cruddy, and I just don't think contact cleaner is going to clean them up all that great. But if that's what you want to do on yours, you do you, people. There's no mistakes here, just happy little accidents, right? So you can do it however you want, but we're going to be using a small little needle file. Now the problem with the file is if you go too crazy and tear the contacts all up, they're damaged. And you know, if you do it to every switch in the machine, then you're really damaged. So you don't want to go nuts with it, but you want to get where basically they're shiny again so it can conduct electricity. And don't over adjust them. Like if they need adjustment, adjust them. But if they don't, or if it's borderline, leave it alone. So let's look at one. So let's look at this one. These two are open right now. They're not touching. But when this relay pulls in, see how the smaller blade moves as the larger blade presses against it? That's because it's properly adjusted. Now look over here to the third one. See how it moves more than the other one? The mistake to make is to say, oh, well, that one on the end isn't adjusted close enough. It should move more. Don't do that. Leave it alone. It's moving, leave it alone. So like if you get one that it's just not touching, you can tell that it's not moving the other one, adjust that one. But if you get one where you think it's moving too much or it's not moving enough, leave it alone. These things get a mind of their own. And if you adjust a ton of switches, you're going to end up with a machine that you just misadjusted about 15 switches on, and then you have to go find them all. So don't do that. So we're going to go through and clean each one of these little switches. Make sure that none of them look like they need adjusted. Oh, and usually in an entire machine, you might find 10 switches that need adjusted. Maybe, if even that many. So maybe between 5 and 10 switches actually need you to adjust them. But all of them need cleaned usually. Usually you won't find any that don't look dirty. So clean all of them, adjust 5 of them. That's a good way to think about it. So we'll go through and do that. Now these relays up here are the 100,000 point relays. So the score reels only go up to 99,990 points. This last one's a fake one. Okay, 99,990 points. And then whenever they do that, the next time you get 10 points, it clicks this little relay on. And when that happens, it turns on a light on the back glass that says 100,000 because all of your score reels are back to 0. So say 100,000 plus the score reels which are at 0. So all of these need to be cleaned too. Some of these have that buzzer too. Let's see if this one had the buzzer. This is a pre-buzzer era, people. On some of the newer ones, whenever you go up over 100,000, there's a buzzer up here that rings. But not on this one. Okay, so I'm going to clean those relays. This is the 10-point relay. You have 4 different switches that connect to the 4 10-point reels. And depending on where the player unit is, which player it's on, so if it's here, it's on player 1. If it's on the next one, it's on player 2, blah, blah, blah. Which, depending on which one the player unit is on, that switch actually is connected through there to power. So the other 3 still go in, but they don't actually turn the 10 points on the other players. Okay, and then why is there another one? There is another one, another switch to make the chime work. And then the last 10-point switch, I wonder what that's for. Let me look real quick, just to be thorough. I forgot. The 0 to 90 unit. So this thing turns every time the 10-point relay goes in. And why does it do that? Because it's kind of like a random thing. So it gives you the match number. It just keeps turning around and around. One of those is on the match. And it just kind of helps do a random. It's a way to make things kind of semi-random. Okay, and then you get the 100-point relay, and it does a bunch of stuff. The 1,000-point relay works in a similar way. The number 1 score reset and the number 2 score reset. So what do these do? Well, the number 1 score reset resets maybe the first player and the second player scores whenever the game resets. So the reset relay turns these on. And the score reels all turn back to 0. And they eventually get to a point where a switch opens up on the side of them. Like that top one. See, we're on 0 right now. See how that top switch is open? So that sucker opened up, which means that this number 1 score reset relay can no longer reset it. So see this? Is that the right wire? It's a green wire. Maybe that's not the one. Which wire is it? Let me see if I can find it, just to prove the point. White and black one. There's a white and green one. Yes. There's a white and green one. That's not right though. I'm trying to figure out which switch it is on the actual stack. Here we go. White and green wire. Okay, so it's just clacks, clack, clack, clack. That switch closes. Clack, 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 clack. Sends power up through this switch. Clack, 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 clack. Which sends power to the solenoid. I guess, have I got the right one? Yeah. Which sends power to the solenoid. Right? As long as that switch is closed. It's actually the middle one. As long as the middle switch is closed. When the middle switch opens, this keeps going clack, 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 clack. But this white and green wire that's got power going to it can no longer make the coil turn because the switch is open. It's zeroed out. And it keeps doing it. Okay? But the actual... Let me see if I can find it here. Trying to find the actual wire so I can show it to you. You'll be like, oh, that's awesome. Well, basically the other switch that opens up on the very top, so the middle one opens up to stop the reel from turning. The other switch that opens up kills power to the reset relay. So whenever the reset relay opens up, these no longer pull in. So once they're all back to zero, none of them can tell the reset relays to turn on anymore. And that takes you to and so that makes the reset relay down on the bottom close, or open back up. And once it opens, you go to the next step of the boot process, basically the operation, the reset sequence. That's a good word for it. Okay, so we're going to clean these relays, clean those relays. If I run into anything weird, I'll come back and show you what I found. Okay, there was nothing specifically obviously wrong with any of those. They were just dirty. So we have moved on to the score reels. So the score reels, I kind of showed you how the switches are supposed to work. One of them is to stop the reel from resetting. One of them is to stop the reset relay from resetting. And the other one is the 9-point carryover. And then there's an end of stroke switch as well. Whenever we were resetting it before, on the first video we tried to play it, whenever we were resetting it before, we had an issue where this last digit over here was hanging. Now keep in mind there is a fake reel, so the ones, again, there's no such thing. So this is the tens reel. This is the one that was actually tripping. And so when it gets to 0, these top two should open. So let's see what it's doing. Now, see the end of stroke switch here? When this pulls in, that should open. And then it should close when the plunger goes back out. And you saw how it moved through it, right? So I hope you understand what I mean by that. When it pushes the other one a little bit, it actually cleans it a little bit. So that's how you want it. Okay? So that end of stroke switch you need, because sometimes if you hit something on the play field, like a 10-point target, if you hit it real quick, it would just pull the 10. If you didn't have that, it would just pull the 10-point relay in slightly. So it would just go, because you hit it so quick. So you wouldn't score your points. So they have the 10-point relay holds itself on, or I guess the target does, or whatever. The thing holds itself in until the end of stroke switch breaks, and then it lets go. And once it breaks, like if you notice right when it breaks open, well, yeah, it kind of snaps. It's far enough that it can push the reel. If you get one where the reel, you just hear like a noise or whatever, it's buzzing, buzz, it's because the coil has pulled in and is staying. Now look, when I pull this in, see how we're on 4? Watch what happens when I pull this all the way in. Okay, so what number are we on now? We're still on 4, because it doesn't change it until the coil lets go. That's what pushes it forward. The thing going back out pushes it forward. So whenever you get one that's something stuck on the playfield, you'll see it do that. It'll just buzz and make noise, and you might not even see it change the number. You might have a switch stuck on the playfield, or you've got a switch messed up somewhere. So it's just something to look for. So we're on 5 right now. So when we get to 9, I can get it where you can see it without messing it all up. See that bottom switch? So it's open, okay? 6, 7, 8, 9 closes the bottom one. And the reason it does that is because the next time you get 10 points, it's going to move this to 0. And then that switch is connected to, I think it's to the 100-point relay, but it may be to the next reel. So that basically you get this one to move and the next reel to move. So that instead of having a 0, you have a 10 because the next reel moved over. So 9, and then at 0, all 3 of them should open up. And they do. So this one kept getting stuck on like 1. So why would one reel be stuck on 1? Well, it could easily be the switch on the 10-point relay. So whichever switch moves that reel may be misadjusted or dirty. It could be the yeah, it pretty much has to be that, because these two are only really used for the reset. Okay, so I don't see anything obviously wrong with it. It was probably a switch on the 10-point relay, but I'm going to go ahead and clean it. I'm also cleaning the score reels, the plastic. If you do that, you can use wax. That works really good. Or you can spray something on like a paper towel. Don't spray directly on the score reel, though, because on some of the reels, and it's really hard to tell which ones this is going to happen to, whenever you spray any kind of liquid on it, it'll just take the paint right off, which is annoying. You can fix it with a Sharpie or with some paint or something, but it's better off if you don't have that problem in the first place. And they always get all this dust and dirt on them, as you can see. Look at that. Hi-fi. 1080p, baby. By the way, I wear glasses, so I can't see the difference between 1080p and whatever normal is. They look about the same to me. But I can see that that's pretty well focused. Okay, then you also have this little board in here. Now, if the thing is pretty clean and it doesn't look like it's got a whole bunch of grease and dirt in there, sometimes you can get away with not cleaning those. These look really clean. So I don't have to take it all the way apart, but you can go through and take all of this out, clean this little board, and then put it back. So what are those boards used for? If you look, there's only 3 of them. There's one on the, again, this is the 1's dummy reel. It's always on 0. The 10's reel has one. That's the match number. So if the last 2 digits in your score, so let's say this lands on 8, well, the last 2 digits in your score are 80. If the last 2 digits on your score match the number that lights up at the end of the game, you win a free game. That's the match unit. The match feature. I don't see it back here. The jumper must be down in the bottom of it. So that's what that's used for. Because this reel with these switches has no way of knowing if you're on 20, 30, 40, 50, 60, 70, 80. So they need this little board back here with a little wiper on it that turns around depending on where you're at on the face, so that it actually has some way of knowing. But even then, it doesn't really know where you're at. It's just connecting different contacts. So whenever the match is done and it comes on, if any of these are on 8, power is connected through here, through the little things, and through the match setup, which is, ran by this thing, to the credit relay, or the free game relay, or whatever it's called, and you win a free game. But it doesn't really know. It's just, I don't want to say stupid logic, but it's what it is. It just basically, if everything's lined up right, it gives you a free game, and if it isn't, it doesn't. Or if there's a problem and something's dirty, it doesn't. So that's what that one's for. Now the other two, the hundreds reel doesn't have one. The thousands reel and the 10,000s reel has them because it needs it for the high score setup. So if you win a free game at 90,000 points, it needs to know if you're at 90,000 points, and it does it too, where you can set it at an odd number, so like 94,000 points. So it needs those 2 cards on there for the same reason. If this one is at 9 and this one is at 4, you win a free game immediately. So as soon as those hit, bam, it gives you a free game. And I keep looking over here because the credit unit is what stores how many games you have. We'll get to that here in a minute. So those cards, they look really clean on this machine. Another thing that you'll find is that as you go through them, they get cleaner, because there's been 50,000 games played that are a one-player game that use these reels. And there's been maybe 10,000 games that actually use these reels, the second-player reels. And there's been maybe 2,000 games that ever had 3 players, and there's been maybe 1,000 games played on it where they used all 4 players worth of reels. Because if you start a one-player game, these just sit here at 0, these just sit here at 0, these just sit here at 0. So they don't even move much. So for whatever reason, the first-player ones always look a lot dirtier and have a lot more going on. Sometimes on these bottom ones, you'll find that the dirt on the actual reels is just on the top, and it's just dust that's settled on them. They hardly ever turn. They've been stuck showing 0 for years and years. But whenever we play this thing, we're going to get them all moving and doing their thing again. So I'll keep cleaning these. Again, I didn't see anything wrong with this one. Basically, you just clean those switches and make sure that they do what we just showed it doing. Clean all of the plastic reels and work through them. So we've done all the relays. We're about to do all 16 of the score reels. It takes forever. This is my least favorite part of the whole thing. But once we get them all ready, we'll move on to something else. Okay, folks, got those all straightened up. There are a few wires messed up. A few blades, switches that weren't adjusted right here and there, but we got it going. So now we're going to move on to the credit unit. So this is basically what keeps track of whether or not there are credits to play. It's a very simple device. Once you realize how simple it is, it's really easy to suss out. But basically, this switch right here, if it's closed and you hit start, a game starts. If that switch is open and you hit start, a game does not start. So when you put a quarter in, what happens is it makes this coil pull in. Okay, so when this pulls in, this wheel turns. Now the wheel has a bunch of numbers on it, and you just went from 0 on the front to 1. Okay, and each time this pulls in, now 3, 4, 5, 6, whatever, right? When it pulls in, it pushes this switch together. That's also an end of stroke switch. When it pushes that switch together, that switch makes the knocker go off. So if you put a quarter in, we'll say it's a quarter, but you could set them on a dime, nickel, whatever. If you put a quarter in, it makes this pull in, it makes this hit, and it makes the knocker go knock. When you win a free game, it makes this pull in, and it makes the knocker go knock. If you match at the end of the game, it makes this pull in, and it makes the knocker go knock, because every time it's hitting this switch. Okay? Eventually, see this little post? When you get enough credits on the game, I got 20, 3, 24, 25, whatever. Eventually, that post there opens that switch right there. When that switch opens, you can't win any more free games because it just opened the circuit to the credit relay down there or whatever, one of the coin relay or whatever. So this can't pull in anymore because the wire runs through that relay. So, or maybe the wire runs through this relay. Let's see. Yeah, see the wire right here? See, it runs through this switch. So the only time it can get power is if this switch is closed. So once that opens that switch, you can't win a free game anymore. Well, if you can't win a free game anymore, you can't get a knock anymore. So a lot of times, people ask us a lot of times, how come the knocker doesn't work? It's if you've won enough free games that it's up to like 25 or whatever it's set at, you won't win any more games. That little post on some of these can be moved and put in different places. Okay. Now let's say you press the start button. Whenever you do, it subtracts 1 by pulling this one in. All right. Now you've only got 20. Blah, 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 blah. And it keeps going around and around and around and around. And look, there's another post over there. Well, eventually that post gets there to that's as far as it can go. because the wheel says 0 on the back. So what's keeping it from going back? How come it won't go anymore? It's because the little thing that pushes it has a tooth missing, I think. Let me see. Oh no, it's on the other side. Well, where is it? It's not on that. We're going to find it. Don't worry, people. We're going to find it. For some reason, it gets to a spot where it will not go any farther. Trying to find it. Just for completion's sake. Yeah, there it is. I found it. See that little nub there? So when you get around far enough, it hits a little thing over there to where it won't go any farther, no matter how many times you hit that. So it has like a home position. Well, whenever it gets to that home position, it won't go any farther. If that switch has been bent like this one has, to where that can't open the switch, then it will never go off free play. I mean, it will never run out of credits, and it will eternally be on free play. So you can't possibly run out of credits because that switch never opens up. And then the next time you hit start, that will pull in again, but it's not going to go anywhere. So what happens if you win a free game? It'll still change it and still make everything work. If you're good enough and you win enough free games, you'll eventually get up to whatever the highest number is that you can get on it, and the knocker will stop working. But then once you play a few games, it'll start working again. So there you go. Simple as that. This one, as you just saw, is working just fine. So there's really nothing to do to it. Clean those 3 switches, and that's all you need to really do. So we're going to move on. This is the 0 to 90 unit. This, like I said, is used for the match, and also it's sometimes used for random things in the game. If you've got something on the play field that you want to change or something, sometimes they'll run it through that unit. It's on about every game. But it's very simple. It's just like the one in the bottom of the cabinet that we were messing with. This is just a one-way stepper unit. So this relay, this coil pulls in, and it just keeps going in one direction. There's no way to reset it, and it's tied to the 10-point relay. So every time you score 10 points, anybody scores 10 points, it pulls this in. And that's a way for them to like I said, kind of make a random thing, although it's not really random because it steps it in order. So the match unit might go from 10 to 20 to 30 to 40 to 50 to 60, and it just jumps it around because every time you score 10 points, it moves. So it makes it where it allows it to have like an unpredictable variable. If you were like the type of person that can count cards in Vegas, you might be able to count it though. Again, they might use it for something else on the playfield, but each game would be a little different. So on this, since it's such a simple little thing, there's no switches on the back, just that one coil. And over here, you just have these little rivets that you ride along. So the way I always do it is I take sandpaper. Somebody the other day was asking what grit sandpaper. I think the stuff we use is like 320 or something. You could use even, you don't really want to go any more aggressive than that. So you could go, somebody was asking if we use 2000 grit. I think ours is 320. And the reason I use it is because I have a ton of it. We just got a bunch of years ago and we've got tons of it. Other people have said, oh no, you shouldn't do that. Use a Scotch-Brite pad. I agree you should use a Scotch-Brite pad on yours. But on mine, I just use 320 grit sandpaper. Never had a problem. And I clean it up, get it looking a little better, and then I put a little bit of grease on it. So let me show you that. And on one like this, typically you don't even have to take it apart. You see it's moving great. You just clean some of the rivets, right? And then you just move it 3 or 4 steps to where the leg is off of the rivets that you didn't clean, and then clean them too. You don't even have to take it apart. And then put a little bit of grease on it, and it'll be ready to go. So let me show you that. All right, so you're just trying to clean off the rivets, get it where they're nice and conductive to electricity. And then I did this one as well. This is the player unit. So basically it's back to player 1, which is like the home position. And then if it steps up one place, now it's on player 2. Now it's on player 3. Now it's on player 4, and it won't go any farther. But if you hit this one, it will reset back to player 1. That's just how it works, right? So on the back of it, it has a couple of home switches, similar to what we got going on over here, but a little bit different. But it's as simple as that. So you just clean it up, and then we put a little bit of grease on it. This is the stuff we use. Synthetic grease. It works great because it's dielectric. So if you've got one of these that you're working on, there's a link to this stuff on Amazon on our website. Go to lionsarcade.com, and we have prices, pictures, descriptions of all of our games for selling there. But we also have a parts page where we link a bunch of stuff like this. So if you follow those links, a lot of them take you to Amazon. If you buy anything on Amazon after you click one of our links, it gives us a tip. So thank you to everybody that's been doing that. And our lawnmower man is still very active. We have a gentleman who repairs lawnmowers. I have no clue who he is, but I just see on there what's been bought, right? And somebody out there buys parts to fix lawnmowers non-stop. It may be even other small engine stuff. The other day they bought a whole carburetor. Boy, that was cool. So thank you to whoever's been doing that. Okay, so that's that. We're going to mount those back in. We've already done this one. We did all of the score reels, the relays. We did these relays. The only thing left are the Jones plugs. So Jones plugs are clever little creatures. They're just little posts, and they get oxidized. So someone was telling me that Brasso works really good on these. That was Chris. Chris told me his secret. He said he puts them in Brasso. I haven't had a chance to try that yet, but apparently that works really good. But what we use is the same sandpaper that we've got 10,000 of. Just clean it up a little bit, get it nice and shiny. And then on these, different companies make different ones. What I like to do with these Bally ones is I kind of squeeze them back together a little bit, just to make sure that they hold the post tight. And if you look, they have a little C-shaped deal where it grabs both sides of the post whenever you put it back in there. Watch this. You'll see what I'm talking about. So you see how that makes contact, right? So you just need to get these posts nice and clean, the male part. The female part, you can clean down inside of there with a bore brush. We've got links to those on our website too. 17 caliber, I believe, is the caliber, but don't quote me, but I believe that's right. 17 caliber. A small little bore brush. So what kind of bore does it clean? It cleans the little, you know what I'm talking about. I'm not allowed to say that on YouTube. But you know what I'm talking about. It cleans those, and so you can clean the female end with those. On these, it's not quite as bad because since it grabs it on both sides, you just kind of need to get the male part cleaned. But if you have issues, some of the other ones are made slightly different. It looks like each company made their own, and they're not really Jones plugs, which was like an actual brand made by Mr. Jones. Not to be confused with Mrs. Jones. But get those nice and clean so that they electrically make contact. There may be you might be able to spray contact cleaner or something on them too, but I mean, it's all like oxidization, you know. I wouldn't think contact cleaner would clean that up. I know everybody preaches that stuff, but I've had good luck with a little bit of good old-fashioned sandpaper. Now, don't go crazy. Oh, and another thing. I had a guy people give me crap on YouTube all the time. It's nonstop, people. I'm fighting them off left and to the right. People, don't take it all so seriously. Come on, man. I'm just trying to have a good time. Come on, people. Come on now. Come on, people. Come on. So the guy's telling me that technically it's not sandpaper. Sandpaper is for wood. I don't give a damn what it's called technically. It's paper that you can sand with. This ain't sandpaper like for wood. I mean, it could be for wood, but I'm not talking about the big crap that crap falls off of. I'm talking about this. Come on, man. What else would you call it? I mean, I'm sure that's called sandpaper. I'm going to go look at the store to see if I'm technically wrong. Whatever, who cares? All right, so I'm going to clean up the posts and put them all back, and then that should be it for the back box, unless I screwed something up, and then we'll figure it out later. Okay, folks, so we got those done. We've put it back up against the wall. We've plugged it in. Now I think it's turned on. So let's see if I hit this. Now we don't have the playfield in it, obviously, so we're not going to be playing it today, people. If I hit this switch, it should. Would you look at that? Ain't it beautiful? Isn't this a great back glass? Now I notice some people clowns are kind of creepy. Holy crap, they've got a blinker in his nose. Now that's just beautiful. You see the 100,000 point lights that we were talking about? Now I haven't really done anything cosmetically to it yet, so I haven't messed with the lights or anything, but the fact that they have a blinker in his nose, I love it. Here's the match number that we were talking about on the back. Now if I turn that match unit, remember this one? If I turn that unit, if I can reach around there without getting electro-fried. Can you see it? I can't tell if you can see it. We got the one that the bulbs burn out. Okay, but as that turns, you see what happens. Now people, great camera work like that you only get here at Joe's Video Games. Alright, so it says game over. I like that. It says 1, 2, 3, or 4 can play. Well, that bulb's burn out. Like I said, we haven't done anything cosmetic, so I haven't messed with any of the bulbs yet. But, we're on 0 games, so we have 0 credits, but I think I've got it on free play, right? So I'm going to try to start it. Now it's not going to start because the playfield's not in it. But it should try to reset all of the score reels, so maybe we can get those to all reset. Now you may notice that I've got all of them not on 0, and I did that on purpose. That one that's 5, I was having trouble with just mounting that thing in there. It'll be okay. So I've got them all not on 0, so that when we try to start a game, it will have to reset all of them. So why did I do that? It's so that you can test them. Like, it's very easy every time you start the game to just play a one-player game. Well, hell, you never figure out if the third player scores are working, right? So I've got them all not on 0. We're going to try to start it. Now, I don't even know if it'll start like this without the playfield in it, but I think it will. So let's see if they all reset. We got 3 problem childs here. What's up with that? Let me see what I can figure out. Okay, so by hand I moved those 3 back to 0. So what's the problem there? Well, I must have a switch not right. It's either the reset, the score reset relay, or the actual switch on the actual relay isn't working. Something screwed up. I mean, the actual score reel's messed up. Something screwed up. But in general, now we know. We've got a problem on the 2-player and we've got a problem on the 4-player. The first player and the third player seem to reset just fine. But we'll figure all that out whenever we troubleshoot it. Whenever we play it all, I'll make a list of every little thing that's acting up, and then we'll go through the schematics and we'll figure every one of them out. So keep that in mind. There's 2 of them on the 4-player, and the one on the 2-player that we've been having trouble with, we're still having trouble with. Thought for sure that would get it. But at least we're kind of getting somewhere. And his nose is flashing now. I don't think it was doing that before. So I call that progress. But it's late. I'm going home. So y'all go home too. Now, by the time you see this video, we will have fixed this thing. Because we don't even upload them unless we've already completely finished the thing, pretty much. Because I don't like uploading them and then we run into some problem. And it takes 6 months to fix it or something. Or I can't figure it out. And then you're left hanging. So believe me, if you've seen this video, we're on a consistent schedule of releasing the videos, and we already know that we're going to be able to finish it. So you'll see the next one very soon. So on the next one, we're going to pop the playfield in, clean the stuff on the bottom of it, and then we're down to cosmetic stuff. We need to troubleshoot it, of course, but what the hell? Why is that one on 1? Has it always been like that, or did the clown change it? But at least we're kind of getting somewhere. And his nose is flashing now. I don't think it was doing that before. So I call that progress. But it's late. I'm going home. So y'all go home too. Now, by the time you see this video, we will have fixed this thing, because we don't even upload them unless we've already completely finished the thing, pretty much. Because I don't like uploading them and then we run into some problem and it takes 6 months to fix it or something, or I can't figure it out, and then you're left hanging. So believe me, if you've seen this video, we're on a consistent schedule of releasing the videos, and we already know that we're going to be able to finish it. So you'll see the next one very soon. So on the next one, we're going to pop the playfield in, clean the stuff on the bottom of it, and then we're down to cosmetic stuff. We need to troubleshoot it, of course, but what the hell? Why is that one on 1? Has it always been like that, or did the clown change it? It shouldn't have stopped at 1. What's up with that? Kind of creepy. Oh. Anyway, we'll play it. Like I said, we'll play it all and troubleshoot it all. But we have to do a video where we do the cosmetics. There's a little bit of paint on the playfield that we have to repaint. So on this one, you'll get to see a little bit of playfield repainting if anybody likes that stuff. But yeah, nice thing. The guy told me the story about this game. I'll tell you the quick version of it, and we'll go farther into it whenever we do the final video where we actually play it and everything. But his father owned this many, many years ago. This Circus has been in the family for a long time. And his father owned it and used to have it in his he called it his showroom. We'll talk about that later on another video. But he had a whole thing. He had this. He had a jukebox. He had, some of all that kind of stuff. He had the whole thing all set up and made up where he had a whole game room with cars and everything else. And this is the last thing that he kept. He sold all the cars. He sold everything, but he still has the pinball machine. And the gentleman wants to fix it up, and him and his wife can play it and remember the good old days. So that's what we're going to do. We're going to get it working good for him, and it's about 60% there. So whatever we run into a problem, well, we know that everything's been cleaned. It's got to be just one little switch somewhere. The problem with trying to track down one little problem is if nothing's been cleaned yet, it could be, once you fix that problem, another one pops up, and then another one pops up, and you just get to a situation where you need to clean everything. So that's what we're doing. So I hope you enjoyed it. Leave your comments below. Let us know what you think. Make sure to give us a thumbs up for taking the trouble to film it for you. What do you think so far? You think we're going to be able to get it going? Do you think we'll figure out I guess it's possibly 4 score reels that, I don't know if that's one of the ones that was messed up already or not. You think we'll be able to figure that out? What do you think it is? So let us know what you think. We'll see you on the next video. And hey, by the way, while you're at it, don't forget to check out my brother Donnie. That's literally my brother. He has a channel also here on YouTube. So if you like watching us work on these old pinball machines and jukeboxes and arcade games, you would probably like watching us work on old buildings. He and I have bought a couple buildings in a small town near here in the downtown area, and we're fixing them up and renting them out to people to help revitalize downtown, taking it back old school. So if you like that kind of stuff, go check that out. It's the My Brother Donnie channel. I'll see you over there, and I'll see you on the next video where we'll get a little bit farther on this Circus. Have a good night.